Since the dawn of time, man has been curious. And for almost as long, the Vibes Broadcast Network has sought the truth. Investigate, discuss, explore. Okay, maybe in other episodes, but this one is just listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. I'm very happy to have Miss Michele Schalin here on my show. We actually found out we're pretty much neighbors, and she is a new author. She's working on a book at the moment. She is a speaker. She is a mindfulness coach, and she also helps with meditation. We're going to get to know her and what she does, and we're going to have a wonderful conversation. And I hope that it can help anybody that is watching this or listening to this, because that's what we're all about: positivity and helping everyone to become successful. And so, Michele, I'm going to let you take off and tell us about you.
Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. Michele Schalin with Mindful Metamorphosis. I was just telling Kyle, I just recently relocated to this area after being away for 6 years. I live in Kyle, Texas, just south of Austin. And I originally from Chicago, moved down to Texas in 1999, and then lived was here for 18 years. Started a different business, a web development business 17 years ago. And then after about 18 years, I went to Key West for a couple of years. That was a real beautiful experience, living on an island for the first time in my life. And then I went to Valencia, Spain for 3.5 years, which was incredible experience in a lot of levels. And I was over there during the lockdown, which was extremely severe restrictions. Italy and Spain were two of the most really strongest restrictions in the world. And I recently relocated, like I said, in March here. So I'm really happy to be with you guys. I really love basically sharing my experiences after a lot of the experiences I went through in the last 5 years. I've been so outside the comfort zone that I just grew like a rocket. And before that, I have about 26 years of experience mentoring people and doing workshops and speaking and that kind of stuff with 12-step programs. So I have a lot of that kind of experience, mentored, sponsored hundreds of women. When I started going through my major growth spurt, after I had a back operation 8 years ago, led me into meditation and a lot of other modalities to avoid taking prescription drugs, just because that was my path. I have no judgment or criticism of anybody else that goes that route to try to feel better and get relief from any kind of suffering. But that was just something I was trying to avoid, because I was trying to avoid the pitfalls that come with using those, using that system, the technique of prescription drugs. So it led me into a lot of these different modalities, and did an amazing amount of healing and a lot of studying about how your brain works, how your thoughts, and your subconscious beliefs run the show, and how to learn to be able to change that. And heal and get more spiritually connected, and just raise your vibration to be higher, and just be more receptive to any messages you're supposed to get in this life in whatever direction.
Well, everything that you've been talking about is something I've had a really big interest in, and I've tried to stress to people: get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that's the only way you're going to grow.
Absolutely.
Growing up outside of Houston most of my life, I lived in that area, and everybody that I knew I could fall back on. And so I got that job that got the good insurance and good retirement and all that, the whole 9 yards. That's all great. And if that's what you want out of life, go for it. But I was never happy, never content. And then till I moved up here, where I don't have that group of people that I can fall back on, I've had to spread my wings. It's just like the mama bird kicking the baby bird out of the nest. You're
Right.
either going to fly or you're going to fall. And that's why I say you need to get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
You're going to grow and heal is to get, because most of the stuff that I believe that when people get happier and they feel more comfortable with who they are and really love themselves and that kind of, all that, we have to unlearn things. It's not about learning mostly. It's mostly about unlearning all the conditioning that we received growing up. And for the first 7 years of your life, your mind is as it's developing, it's purposely developed. It has a state of just receptive. It's in the vibrational frequency of theta, and that is like a hypnotic kind of frequency in your brain.
Mhm.
And that's purposely done so humans can learn as much as we can for survival. Because unlike a lot of other animals, we need a lot of help. We can't just be on our own in 6 weeks or 3 months. You know what I mean? We have to learn a lot to survive. And so that's what it's about. And so you can learn to reprogram your brain and your subconscious beliefs. It's called neuroplasticity. You change neuron connections. This is all science-backed. You can type it in and look at, and I'll mention all kinds of different people I've studied under, but you can find all kinds of information around this, okay? It's not being fully embraced by a lot of the medical community because there's a lot of money to lose if
Exactly.
people, not billions of dollars. And so thank goodness for YouTube, because there are scientific experts, neuroscientists, therapists, all kinds of medical doctors that are on the cutting edge of this happening. It's not recent. This research has been going on with really technical imaging devices, the brain, and showing everything for decades now. But still, because the medical industry isn't embracing it, not enough people know about it. It's not even being taught in the medical schools yet, okay?
Mhm.
So, and here, or when I was in Spain, I even asked some medical students, and no, they didn't even know anything about the benefits of meditation, all right? And it's like really remedial now. But thank goodness to YouTube, like I said, and other platforms where we're getting this information, and
Yes.
we're seeing different people that are talking about it and then going in the direction, trying to study under them and learn more. And so that's what I did. And I just used myself as a guinea pig, because I went the route of meditation to avoid physical pain, to try to manage my pain, not so much avoid it, to manage my pain after
Right.
my back surgery. And then I went to yoga and, meditation. And before that, I was like really active physically. I was a fitness trainer in my 20s and 30s, and I kept, very, very active. And then all of a sudden, the universe basically halted me in my tracks, because I was like a crazy workaholic. I had all kinds of anxiety. I didn't even know what it was, because no one talked about anxiety back then.
Mhm.
This is like 10, 15 years ago. Hardly anybody talked about that stuff. I'm just like, I didn't know what was wrong. And I just used to exercise, or keep on going over and over, distract, because I was uncomfortable with my feelings, but I didn't know why I was uncomfortable. And
Mhm.
what I know now is, after a lifetime of suppressing feelings because of my conditioning with my family, my marriage, the culture, I had severe anxiety because of that. And I've also learned a lot of different ways that people can get anxiety. A lot of people think it's just about being afraid of the future or, uncertainty. And it's not. There's actually quite a few different triggers that different people can feel anxiety with, okay? Suppressing your emotions is one of them for sure. Being too connected inside on screens constantly, it's just not a normal way to live. And our brains and our bodies are screaming at us. We're very adaptable, but that's one of the reasons why we need these other modalities to help us manage this unnatural life we're living. It's all this connection, all this barraging, all this multitasking, not enough time in nature, this constant input of negativity. I mean, there's a lot of different things, not breathing deep enough, not being connected with ourselves. I mean, all of this is causing extreme emotional stress and physical pain and illness. And a lot of it is just unlearning and healing from trauma. I'm going to throw out a couple of people that I love, that I kind of incorporate all kinds of different people, and I listen to them. Brene Brown, Wayne Dyer, and Eckhart Tolle are a lot of my emotional and spiritual leaders that I listen to.
Okay.
Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton are both, and Deepak Chopra are amazing information about how your subconscious and your thoughts can, you have an impact on you and affect your health and how you can change it. And Gabor Mate, Dr. Gabor Mate is someone I've been really into lately and studied under him as well for the last 6 months. And he's an expert on trauma and addiction, and very interesting man. And all of them are extremely intelligent, compassionate, loving people that are just, had their own experiences and, help other people and spread the word that way. So
if you would look up Copal de Selva.
Okay.
I guarantee if you like all those guys, you're going to love Copal, because he's a shaman.
Okay.
And he teaches a lot of these things too.
Great.
And one thing that some folks don't understand, because I saw a YouTube video about anxiety, and this guy made the assumption that all anxiety is the same. And everybody does experience some form of anxiety at any given moment in their life, but they don't understand the kind of anxiety that we face, that it causes us. It almost feels like a heart attack, and it does bring on panic. It's something that cripples you emotionally. It's very difficult to function. And it's not just an everyday anxiety. Let's take, for example, when I was under all these medications that didn't help, I would get into a crowd or go out to watch fireworks and things like that, and I would panic, and to the point of I thought I was going to pass out. I wanted to run away. So I don't like to focus on myself in these things, but I'm the only example that I can give you.
Your experience.
And I told you before we started, I've had depression since I was a teenager. And of course the anxiety. I have PTSD. I've gone to all kinds of therapists and psychiatrists, and taken all these medications that they've given me. None of these things really worked for me. When I picked up meditation, took it seriously, I'm now able to meditate before I go somewhere that there's a crowd. And I convince myself that everything's going to be fine, that I can handle it. I have different things that I can focus on. When my wife or my daughter is with me, I'm able to focus on them. And that takes a lot of that anxiety away. Natural things, also all the health problems that I've had spinal surgery myself. I've had my second one here back in August, and I've got diabetes, high blood pressure, heart problems, the whole 9 yards, because I changed my diet, got away from all these drugs and the alcohol and all that stuff. I better manage it. I don't think people realize how important natural remedies really are.
Absolutely, because we're not taught that. We're not taught that. We're taught to go to the doctor, he'll take care of it. We're taught to give our power away and just be kind of the victim mentality and like, oh, I can't do anything about it. And because that's what we're taught. We're not taught to process our feelings. We're not taught all these things. We're not taught that anxiety actually isn't bad. It's a part of being human. And it's kind of an alarm system, like, hey, something's going on, something's wrong. It's trying to get our attention, okay? And I've had this challenge for a long time. And because I, like everybody else, was not taught to process my feelings, my parents didn't know, they weren't taught, so they just handed down, the generational trauma, of not knowing how to communicate and all that kind of stuff, and give it attention and that. And so I learned that this was one of the biggest lessons that helped me with processing feelings and anxiety. And it refers to the book I'm actually writing. The title is Suffer Better, Suffer Less. It's actually from a quote of a Buddhist monk, a Vietnamese Buddhist monk called Thich Nhat Hanh. He's fairly well known. And he said, if you learn to suffer better, you'll suffer much less. Because if you learn to process your feelings, you're going to experience some kind of suffering. That's just about being human. You're going to have strong feelings. I don't say bad or negative anymore because they're part of who you are. If you're going to label part of yourselves as bad or negative, then you're not going to fully accept yourself, and you'll never be fully happy if you don't fully accept yourself and really have good self-love. That's like number one. Most people think they're not good enough in a lot of levels because of all the conditioning we've had. Okay. And that's a lot of suffering for people on a regular basis. So when you learn to be able to process your feelings and learn to how to respond, not react, how to respond to the alarm of anxiety, then you'll suffer a lot less. You'll have less chronic depression. You'll have less chronic anxiety. You'll have less pain. All this stuff will be less because the more you resist, the more it persists, right? This is a pretty well-known phrase. If anxiety comes on, and this is what a lot of us do with strong feelings, you know, where you're feeling really overwhelmed or fearful or depressed or whatever, sad, strong feelings come on and we get really uncomfortable. We don't know what to do with them because we've never been taught how to handle it. And so we just try to escape, right? And we use all these different distractions, the big, huge list of things, or push it down and just get distracted, do something else. And we grow up in a culture, and not only our society, around the world, a lot of cultures are like this, where, you know, it's not encouraged to show your feelings, right? And it's encouraged also to look outside of yourself to be happy. Look at all these things that you can get or do or be like or look like or whatever, you know, like you're saying you had all this, you had all these things in your life, nice things, but you still weren't happy. Of course, it's all external. And we see, and we see this with people that are very wealthy and famous and stuff like they're like, oh, they got everything. And then they're miserable, they commit suicide or have all kinds of problems, okay? Because they're not connecting inwardly and it's all going outside in this lack of kind of thing, you know?
Right.
So the biggest lesson, I've had many, many lessons, and of course it's a forever process of growing, was that I learned, and I share with people, is to not try to distract yourself. Okay, it's very challenging at first, but just like everything, when you practice, you get better and it gets easier. Okay, but it's very challenging because it's a lifetime habit of distracting yourself from an uncomfortable feeling. So when that feeling of anxiety comes in, or you're all of a sudden you have this overwhelming feeling of, you know, processing your emotions, you handle it differently. Now, obviously, if you're in a big crowd like you're talking about, you start freaking out. PTSD and emotional triggers, which would be like the milder version of PTSD, but really it's just like a mild version, you know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Yeah. It's unhealed trauma that you're reacting to in the past. You're reacting to the past. That's why you're having an overreaction. And it doesn't even have to be as extreme as you're talking about. It could be in a setting where everybody's out doing something, professional, personal, whatever, something happens and one person has this big overreaction. And everybody around them a lot of times is like judging them and criticizing them. What's their problem and all this? Yeah. Well, they're reacting to a past trauma. That's what's happening to them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have this reaction. Okay. So that's how everyone had responds, and we had different reactions to different stimuli because of our own experiences, our own beliefs and all that. So when that feeling comes to you, the first thing is deep breathing. That's like the biggest, most important thing, because when you get this strong feeling that comes in, your body thinks it's in danger. It goes into the sympathetic flight or fight system. Right. And the best thing you can do right away, and you won't be able to do it all the time, you have to be really compassionate. The best approach is compassion and love for yourself. Always, always, always. I'm not doing it right, and this big self-critic all the time. The biggest thing is to, just like you're teaching a small child something new, which is you're teaching your inner child how to deal with things. You're soothing yourself. You're learning to soothe yourself and give love and support to yourself instead of expecting someone else outside doing it to you, doing it for you. Okay. And breathing will immediately take you into this parasympathetic system, which is rest and restore, and tells your mind and body, okay, we're safe. There's nothing to be worried about. Okay. So that's number one. And then it's like, whenever you can, try to get to a situation, even if you have to go to the restroom for a short period of time and sit in a stall, breathe and go, okay, I'm all right. There's not a problem here. I'm totally safe. There's all kinds of different things you can say to yourself. I know one guy in a group I heard, he did this thing where he's like, I'm the one here now. I'm the one here now. He did this. And I was like, oh, I really like that. Because it's like, you're not thinking of the past or the future. You're right here, present, present, present. getting into the present. That's why focusing on your breathing helps so much. It helps you physiologically, but it also helps you stay present.
Right.
And just go, okay, you're here. Anxiety, or this really strong feeling of the past or the future. I'm scared, or I'm, still ruminating over something or whatever in the past, something I haven't forgiven myself or other someone else, something really strong, and go and just breathe through it and talk to it. Like I've heard examples of like, pretend it's like a guest for dinner. You know what I mean? What's okay? Like talk to it like a friend. Like if a friend came up to you or a child or whatever and said, "Oh my God, Kyle, I'm freaking out," blah 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 blah. You wouldn't say, "Hey, I don't have time to deal with you right now. Get it together," and figure it out. But that's how we treat ourselves, right?
Yes,
we would say,
do.
no. We would go, no, okay, it's okay. It's okay. Tell me what's wrong. What are you trying to tell me? And when you learn to approach your anxiety and your feelings like this, and then emotions will come up. Sometimes you'll want to cry. Sometimes you'll want to maybe scream, get it out, get the energy out, and then you'll calm down. You'll produce oxytocin in your body. You'll calm down. And then it goes away quicker. It goes away way quicker, and it doesn't hang on and turn to a lot of like the extreme problems that a lot of people have. And this is what I'm still learning to do. I don't do it perfect, because you get better at it, and then you start to get more awareness, and the thoughts come in your mind, and you get to a point, you start getting better at it with the practice of meditation, because that's brain training. That's like working out your mind at the gym. Mm-hmm. When you do that more, you get better at, like, when the thoughts come into your mind, you can't control what thoughts come in, but you can learn to control what to do with them. And mindfulness is like hitting the pause button and questioning the thought. Why am I having that thought? How is it affecting my body? Is that really a true thought? A lot of times our thoughts aren't even true, and we immediately identify with them and react. Okay. And that causes a lot of the suffering that we have for us and maybe others. You know what I mean? So it's just a process of, getting used to this. And mindful meditation is the biggest, most versatile tool that you can learn to use. It's not about clearing your mind. It's about focusing. Just focus.
Yes.
Focus, refocus. And what's the focus? Depends what kind of meditation you're doing. Are you doing a mantra? Are you just doing breathing? Are you doing a guided meditation specifically on a lot of different things? On my YouTube channel, I have a lot of short little videos that give tips on this, on a lot of different things. And I highly recommend anybody that is new to meditation to watch, if you have Netflix, to watch this series called Headspace. Headspace is an app on the phone. It's not the app I use. I like Insight Timer. But this series, it's a good app, and the series is really good. The man that's the owner, he was a Buddhist monk for about 4 years. And the series is only like 8 episodes. They're only 20 minutes long, and it's animated. And it talks about like the benefits, the scientific research behind it, and how you can use meditation in all these different ways: to sleep, for stress, for forgiveness, for self-love. And on each little bit of an episode, at the end, he takes you through an 8-minute meditation. I highly recommend it for beginners. And I'm a person that was like a crazy workaholic. I couldn't even go to yoga. That was too slow. Okay. So for me to be this like major proponent of meditation, which I am, it's a big change. And, I know how much it's helped me in my life.
Well, meditation is a time to reflect, and it's a way for you to reason through things and come up with better reactions to things. Your attitude definitely affects how you react to things. And I'd like to bring up 2 points. One, you were talking about to, suffer better. When my little brother had passed away back in 2000, sorry. And when he died, I drowned myself in alcohol. I started doing cocaine a lot more. And so that's how I numbed myself. And because of that, I didn't allow myself to feel. I didn't go through that suffering process. And because of that, I still have a hard time dealing with it even today, even though I handle it better now than what I did back then. But you have to allow yourself to feel these emotions. You can't avoid them.
It's energy has to come out of your body.
Exactly.
I had to learn the hard way too.
Yeah, that's why I say if you've gone or you're going through something, get the emotions out. Don't, some people say, oh, don't cry. Don't, just
Mm-mm.
no. If you need to cry, cry. Get it
Right,
out of your system.
right. I am a huge fan of it. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Helped me a lot. It's really helped me a lot.
Now,
So, but the thing I want to stress too on the meditation thing is
Mhm.
so versatile. You can do so much with it. You can focus on, you really get into like really beautiful, intense meditation for forgiveness for yourself and others.
Mhm.
You can cultivate self-love through going inwardly like this. You can manifest things in your life. You can, increase your vibrational frequency in your life, which attracts better, positive things to you.
Mhm.
It's so versatile. I can't. It's just a long list of stuff that you can do with it, and also it just improves your focus and blah blah blah, all kinds of other stuff, handling your emotions and all kinds of stuff. It just gives you it makes that muscle stronger,
Yes.
so you handle things better in your life. Period. I mean, it's incredible, and I don't believe. I mean, I've never heard any spiritual leader talk about not being able to grow in that way without meditation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's possible. You have to connect inwardly. You know what I mean?
Now, another thing about mindset and about forgiving yourself and loving yourself, that changes your attitude in so many ways. But one of the main things that's when you aren't able to forgive yourself and you don't love yourself, most people, they tend to not really care for other people either. And
Because it gives you compassion. You learn to have love and compassion for
that,
yourself. And you can't
exactly.
be compassionate and empathetic to other people much until you're able to do it for yourself.
Mhm.
It's just
Which,
that way. Yeah,
I mean, which I think is such a contributor to the way things are right now.
absolutely.
People are mad over the stupidest things. You'll see people that have been friends for decades, and you don't like my political opinion, so I'm not going to have anything to do with you anymore. When did we stop sitting down and compromising?
Right.
It's just like a good marriage. My wife and I don't always agree on everything,
Exactly.
but we'll come to a compromise to where she'll get something out of it, I get something
Right.
out of it. We both are
You
happy with
agree
the
to
solution.
disagree. You accept that you don't agree on everything. Okay.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah.
This
So
world needs to change its mindset because we're falling apart as a country. We're falling apart.
we are.
It's sad to say. I think
Serious problems in our country. Yeah.
uh,
And I think there is a lot of people, there's definitely a shift with a lot more people seeing things and being more conscious and trying to do what you're doing, what I'm doing, that kind of thing. I meet more and more people. I'm sure you're meeting a lot of them too. And it's really cool how
yes.
we met.
Well, I meet people that don't have the same viewpoints as I do, but we can sit down and have a conversation, and we both walk away, and we're both still friends.
Right, right, right.
Unfortunately, the way things are going, I think this country is headed for a divorce. Honestly.
I, I like to stay positive, but realistically, I see the same signs.
And I hate that because
I
we're
see,
supposed to be together as one.
and I think what I, living in another country it really gives you some real perspective. And in my situation, living in another country during the last, 5 crazy years, you know what I mean? It really gives you a lot of perspective of looking at your country from the outside and hearing all other people, lots of different people from other countries comment about it, because Americans don't realize the whole world watches us. It's
Mhm.
incredible. I mean, we hear it, but you really don't get it until you are out of the country and hear people. And then there's a danger that a good percentage of Americans have in kind of having this elitist attitude of, oh, don't worry about it. We got checks and balances. We'll be just fine. Blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah,
baloney.
blah, 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 blah. And it's this attitude, I look at America compared to the other countries in our world. We're a teenager.
Mhm.
We're an adolescent. And these other countries are like, what's going on with you guys? You know what I mean? And there's no guarantee that we're going to stay strong. without like really looking at some of these problems and just going, oh, that could never happen to us. That could never happen to us thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I hear this kind of, elitist kind of attitude, like we are just above any of those kind of problems that other countries would have because we're America. You know what I mean? It's not very realistic or smart. You know what I'm saying? So, so let me get off let's get off the politics.
I hear you.
I don't have a problem talking about it, but
well, I mean, I don't want to drag politics itself into the show. It's just the way the country, the whole climate is around here.
It's pretty tough.
We need to change our attitudes.
Yeah.
We need to be more grateful for the things that we have.
Absolutely.
I don't want to see
a lot of contributing factors that are making a lot of this happen. And a big part of it is not going inwardly and not learning. That's why this stuff is so important. It helps you have more compassion. It helps you go inwardly. It helps you de-stress, because a lot of this is just stressing out of all this overwhelming, input constantly and going fast and everything. And that's a big part of how people are treating each other too. If you don't take care of yourself, it's really hard to treat other people good. And I did this, I'm saying kind of how I did when I was, early on. I wanted to share with you though, what I know about what's happening in the arena of psychedelic therapy.
That's something I really wanted to talk to you about. When I saw that you knew about the subject, I was like, okay, I definitely need to talk to her. I've talked to a couple of people that are actually in the therapy itself and has told me that it's working very well for them. I don't think that Texas has anything like that, but I know like in California where these people live that I've talked to, they're allowing it to go on. They get, I think, a bottle with some of those chemicals in it. And I think they're only supposed to take a little bit at a time, certain times of the day, what have you.
Okay.
But it's helping them in a lot of ways. And I've heard people on YouTube talk about it, but I haven't really talked to anybody seriously about the subject itself, how this works, how it helps you. From my understanding, talking to you earlier, it helps you not only emotionally, but physically as well.
It can.
Okay, so talk to me about it, because I'm very curious as if maybe this might be something for me.
It helps a lot of people with PTSD, by the way. Yeah,
that's what I've heard.
Okay, so I'll tell you briefly my experience, and then what spurred me on to research and study and learn a lot on it. Okay. So my first experience was about 4 years ago. Okay, now when I was younger, I did a little acid, when I was when I was a teenager. But it's totally different. The modalities that can be used are, LSD, MDMA, DMT, psilocybin. These are the things that are being used in therapeutic ways. All of these things, and even ketamine, which is like a milder form of this. This is another thing that's usually, ketamine was used for surgeries for younger children, or I guess horses, someone told me, but it can be used for therapeutic reasons. So you can use it as the recreational, which maybe people had experience doing, but using it in a therapeutic way is totally different. It's an extremely different experience. Okay. Okay. So, and I have to say also that the experience is unpredictable. It changes each time, and it's different for different people. It depends on where your mind is at, what's happening in your life. It's basically, when you take these substances, it cuts through your cultural conditioning, your ego, and your mind's showing you what it wants to show you. Okay. And it's kind of dreamy like, okay, but you can really get amazing experiences out of it and life-changing things for like moving forward, emotionally, spiritual connection, or, healing from trauma, and physically for a lot of people. Okay. So my first experience was in Indonesia, and I was visiting my ex-husband, and you could actually go up to a juice shack and it was like juices with the mushrooms in it. And they were like, mild, medium, or strong. And I was like, well, I'm trying for the first time, so take it easy on me, And the biggest thing I noticed in it was it gave me this feeling of intense presence. Like everything was interesting. I had no interest in thinking about the future, the past, picking up my phone, no, nothing. In fact, during those experiences, I never want to look at anything electronic. It's like, whoa, it's like too much. You know what I mean? To stay away from all electronics. And it was just, I had some hallucinations, nothing, just interesting stuff. But the biggest thing was just everything was interesting. I felt a lot of love and bliss and contentment and felt in the present. And that lasted for like 5 hours. Okay. And I was on a beach with hardly anybody there. It was a beautiful first time. And I thought, wow, that's incredible. I want to learn more about this. And because I, like all of us, had and still have the challenge of staying in the present, for thinking of the future, thinking of the past, blah, 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 blah. That causes the most of our suffering. And that's what's beautiful about meditation, to help you get better at it and just say, okay, present, Michele, be present, be in the now. Okay. And then it calms your brain, So when I got back to Spain, this was actually when I was living in Spain, I started researching all kinds of stuff and learned so much about what was going on and what was being studied. I was on YouTube, I was reading books, I was, listening to lectures and all kinds of stuff, and different documentaries that were being made. Mm-hmm. And basically I learned that a lot of really renowned, famous research clinics, including Johns Hopkins, and a sister one in the UK, it's the same kind of thing, called Imperial College. Mm-hmm. And now one in Canada, Australia, and Switzerland, all over the country, all over the world, are having these research clinics that are having trials where people are coming in and they go under this therapy. And this kind of therapy is very strong, and they lay down in their bed and they put maybe listen to some music and put a little blindfold on, which is what I have done. I saw this and I started doing it myself. Okay. And they experience some really big healing, connection, dealing with fears, dealing with, forgiveness, all kinds of amazing stuff. People, there's a lot of right now that you can Google all this. There's a lot of right now different athletes that have had concussions that are using it for brain trauma with great success.
Like with the CTE?
I don't know what CTE
That's
is.
When they've had too many concussions and
okay, right. Starts, whatever. There's actually a guy, I can't remember, Dan something, I forget his name. I could send you a link. This guy was a hockey player. He was only 30 years old. He was called Car Bomb. He was always like into the fights. Okay. Right. So he got all these concussions so bad that his brain trauma he was not functional. His short-term memory was losing him. He was slurring. He couldn't handle light. He had 3 small kids and he was married, and he was contemplating suicide after going to all these different traditional doctors and therapies that nothing was helping. And finally he just as a last ditch effort, he went to Peru and did an ayahuasca journey. And all of a sudden it like reset his brain. You can see interviews of him and his wife going, oh my God, it was incredible. And then when he came back, he started doing psilocybin therapy, and he's not perfect, but he's totally functional now. And it's such a huge thing in his life that he started his own business to help people with psilocybin therapy that have brain trauma.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, people from end of the life, like people that are terminally ill that really freak out and have a lot of anxiety about dying. A lot of those people have benefited from it, and people that are trying to quit addictions, anxiety and depression, and a lot of healing, physically even. So, just everybody, a lot of different people have different types of experiences. The most important thing is to have the best experience is, number one, you go in with an intention. Okay. But that doesn't mean the intention that you're going into would be realized. You might get surprised and your brain wants to show you something else. Okay. Mm-hmm. You plan, you work with somebody that prepares you with it physically, mentally. And then when you go into this kind of setting, you can do it in a medical setting, or you can do it. I mean, now it's getting so popular where people are having at their houses, they're having ceremonies. In fact, this weekend, I'm actually going to my biggest and longest one I've ever done for 2.5 days right here in this area in Austin. And this person opened up their house, and there's going to be other people, a small group of people that we're going to be doing psilocybin therapies, and we're going to be doing breathwork ceremonies. Mm-hmm. And, I've done both of these separately. I've never had it this much in, and then preparing for it, thinking about your intention, thinking about what you'd like to get from it, but then also being open to just whatever's going to happen. So if you have something that you haven't healed from or you're afraid of in your life, this might come up during the experience, right? And that part of the experience will be difficult, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like we're saying, you got to heal, you got to let it out to heal, all right? And this gives you access to do so. And so if something gets scary or uncomfortable and stuff, it's just when you have the approach of understanding, this is just my mind showing me something. It's like a movie, okay? What's the message I can get here? It's just my mind showing me something. If you're feeling like weird or you see weird stuff that freaks you out, I've never seen that, but other people have. It's okay. It's just like kind of a movie. Your brain's trying to show you something. And when you just let go of that control and you don't try to control that same thing, when the experience starts happening and you can feel the substance take over, for me, the first 15 minutes are a little uncomfortable. Okay, that feels like the body's adjusting to the substance, and I have to go, okay, here it comes. And then I breathe real deep in and out. And then in about 15 minutes, your body adjusts physically. And then you start to have different experiences and different, thoughts. And it could be visual, it could be not, it could be just emotional. It changes from how your environment is. Your environment affects it a lot. The people that you're doing, if you're doing it alone or not, that affects it a lot. Music, whatever you're hearing and stuff, that affects it a lot, whether you do it inside or outside, okay? So there's a lot of variables that can really affect it. Like one time I was reading a book about it, and the one guy, he liked listening to classical music during the experience. Okay, I'll try it. This is the first time I tried classical music. So my intention, it was not like super specific, just to heal and connect and whatever blockages I need to get through to go to a higher level of consciousness, right? And all of a sudden, this Tchaikovsky from the Nutcracker came on.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a big bond with my mother, who died like 30 years ago. All right.
Oh, wow.
So all of a sudden, my brain just lit up, Mom. And we had a very loving but very volatile relationship. And there's a lot of unsaid stuff and that kind of thing. A lot of unresolved things, because she died when she was so young and I was young. And I just had this amazing presence. I didn't see anything, just had this amazing feeling of presence. And people say that they had these experiences where they can actually connect with spirits, okay, during this experience. There's actually a series called The Nine Perfect Strangers with Nicole Kidman, where I just watched it. And she plays a Russian woman, and these people come to her place to have these kind of experiences. And one of the people was a small family that connected and actually were able to talk to the son that committed suicide. And it was just, I got goosebumps afterwards. I was crying. I want to talk to my mom, So, but during this one time that I did the psilocybin journey by myself in my room in Spain, I had this connection when I heard the music, and it was so beautiful. I remember it absolutely vividly, because the experience is kind of dreamlike, but you remember things better than a dream. Okay. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I love you. Oh my God, I forgive you. Forgive me. I want to hug your little girl inside. I mean, it was like, oh, I cried. But it was amazing and super, super healing. And that's just like one small example of things that I've been able to do. For me, using this medicinal medicine has basically amplified my growth. Okay, I was already working on a lot of these things through meditation and mindfulness and breath work and writing and all kinds of stuff. And it just amplified my growth. That's my experience for sure.
So are you familiar with the word synesthesia?
Synesthesia? No.
Okay, so what that is say you're listening to music, but your other senses are kind of heightened during that time to where it's like you can almost see the notes and the
experience, yes.
waves. So you get something similar to that?
I've not seen notes like that, but yes, I've heard people absolutely, yes. Everything's heightened like crazy.
Oh, wow.
And so I started during a lockdown. I was in the lockdown that I experienced during the quarantine, because Italy was first and then Spain was right afterwards. And I was talking to people in the US and saying, I'm from the future. This is coming to you. I mean, it was crazy. and I had an experience of being in by myself in a small apartment with no balcony or no yard for 7 weeks. And all I could do was go to the grocery store and come back.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
Yeah, you can't imagine. And so luckily for me, I had just purchased some chocolate bars with psilocybin in them from a guy in the Netherlands.
Really?
And I had them with me. So during that time, I had some real intense, amazing journeys. And I was like in a cocoon. I mean, and I didn't watch a bunch of movies and eat a bunch of garbage or series or whatever. I was only putting positive input of learning about my brain, learning about mindfulness, spiritual stuff, meditation, and this. Beyond my work, which I was teaching English at the time. Okay, that's all I did. And the input was boom, boom, boom. And so I was, when I first started doing it, if I tried to talk to people a little bit about it, they had this like, oh,
well, yeah, I can imagine there's probably people watching this or listening to this right now going, oh, that's just that hippie stuff.
It's totally different. And so, but now I'm totally open about it. I'm totally open about it. I'm actually doing a workshop, an online workshop on it later in the month. And I just share it everywhere because all the science is behind it now. Okay. Yeah. And all these different companies are sprouting up and doing clinical trials as well. And there's all kinds of investment opportunities now. I mean, if you just Google it, you will see it's like blowing up in the last year and a half.
Oh, wow.
There's even I just saw the second one. The first one was a conference, a big weekend conference in Las Vegas, the first week in November. And it's all about big panels and everything, this big, huge thing about wellness, all the wellness opportunities and business, all the investment opportunities, okay, for what's going to happen. And then just on Instagram, just the other day, I saw another company promoting their conference on the exact same thing.
No way.
So it is blowing up like crazy. And last year, twice in 2020, the FDA said they were on a fast track to approve psilocybin therapy because it was a breakthrough therapy for depression. Now, when have you ever heard the FDA saying they're in a fast track to approve something?
Well, other than this vaccine.
Exactly. It's the only other one. So what I believe is, most people would understand that the pharmaceutical industry is in bed with FDA.
Yeah.
And so I believe that the big shots in the pharmaceutical industry know they're not in a cave. They understand the trend. You see Facebook groups, all kind of meetup groups, all kinds of groups online and everything. People are moving in this direction to get away from prescription drugs because they had your experience. It didn't help. Okay. Or it made things worse for them, maybe.
Yes.
And so, side effects are worse than the symptoms a lot of times for these people. So there's a big trend in looking at other options, and this is quite popular because particularly with psilocybin, it's not addictive. If you use it 2 or 3 times in a row, you're not going to get the same effect. It loses its power right away. Right. And it was put in the class of real addictive, drugs like crack or cocaine or heroin for political reasons. Okay. It should have never been put in there. LSD in the late 1940s was seeing amazing results with all the stuff I just told you about that they're doing with psilocybin. And it got cut off because the Nixon administration was trying to push down the hippie movement because that was super threatening for their control. Okay. And part of the hippie movement was LSD. So you can in fact, there's a really cool series on Netflix. It's called The Mind Explained. And in the 6th episode, it talks all about this. All right. And all the propaganda that was put out that spread worldwide. These kind of things have been used by indigenous cultures for thousands of years.
Yes.
And the younger adults and the kids in those cultures do not go, hey, let's party on this stuff. They have the highest respect for these medicines. Okay. Yes. And they understand it's used for healing, emotional healing, physical healing, and spiritual connection. So this stuff isn't new. It's been around for a long time. And it's getting a resurgence because of a lot of the investigation, all the proof that's been coming out. So I think that pharmaceutical industry said to the FDA, you need to look at this being legal so we can start making money and make up the money we're losing on people leaving our prescription drugs. So they'll have a version of it too. And, they'll say it's safe and it's more expensive or whatever, but I mean, we can't control that. And even that is better than what people are getting now.
Yes. Well, I told you before that I knew about it being used for like depression, anxiety, PTSD, which was something that, I really wanted to look into. One of the side effects of the medications they used to give me for depression may cause thoughts of suicide.
I know.
That's nuts.
It's insane. It's insane. I know.
But, then of course you were talking about the health benefits, and of course having a lot of the problems that I do. Granted, they're more in control now than what they've ever been, but I still look for alternative ways of treating a lot of my health issues. How would I go about actually get involved with this? Because I'm serious about it, and also not only the health aspects, but also the spiritual implications that come with it.
I'll tell you what, I can share all kinds of information with you. I have a lot of links of different couple of documentaries. There's actually a really interesting documentary on Netflix called Fantastic Fungi. I highly recommend. And there's another documentary that I can send you, and you can, if you want, put on some of the links on the bottom of the video.
I would love to.
That talks about, and basically Fantastic Fungi talks about, the first half talks about how all kinds of different mushrooms, not just magic mushrooms, all kinds of different mushrooms are throughout the whole world, underneath the ground. It's really interesting. And they're looking at how they could use them to help the climate and, and climate change and stuff like this. Really interesting because they work real fast at decomposing and growing things again. So that's super interesting. And then the second half talks about a lot of the stuff we're talking about. It talks people about their experience. And then it has a lot of people, medical scientists and doctors are talking about them, talking about it. There's people like Gabor Mate, who is not waiting for the FDA to make it legal, who is a proponent and talks about, and there's more people having more, like me, getting braver talking about it because now it's getting to be more accepted. The legalization of cannabis has definitely made it easier,
Yes.
And it's saying the same thing's going to happen here. And so I can share several events and people up in Austin that are doing things. The man that I really like a lot, that I do things with, and I'm going to do this weekend, he also has experience in events with breathwork, heavy breathwork. It's just amazing how much this can help you emotionally and physically. The beautiful thing about having this kind of experience for me, and I think for a lot of other people too, it can give you an experience of like what you can actually access, even without the substance, okay? What you can learn, like, wow, this is there, like I can do this, and feel something like this incredible feeling of love and presence that a lot of people have never experienced that before, ever. I never did. And I know other people talk about this too. The Dr. Gabor Mate talks a lot about this. And Deepak Chopra talks about his experience when he was younger the first time. And so then you go, wow, I can actually learn how to access that same beautiful, joyous feeling. Imagine just being able to access that kind of a thing on an everyday basis. I can actually do that twice a day in my meditation, morning and night, connect to this beautiful feeling that raises my vibration so much where I get tears of joy. And that really helps the health, the mental health, and the physical health of your body. So, breath work is another thing that I've been able to get that kind of feeling. It lasts for a shorter term, you know what I mean? Right now, because that's where the level I'm at, but like when I do the ceremonies, with plant medicines, it lasts for hours and hours, so yeah, I'll share all kinds of information with you, about it. So you can try the experience or go to some of these events and meet some of these people that, are like-minded and they're doing the same thing.
Oh, I definitely would love that. If you could please send me any links that I could share in the description, because I'm sure there's other people that are going to be curious about it as well. I don't think people realize a lot of the benefits that we have that you can just grow out in your own garden. There's spices like cinnamon. There's a lot of benefits to
just
take
regular
cinnamon.
mushrooms, Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of great lion's mane is one real popular mushroom that people are drinking, you know, in their drinks. It's like substitute for coffee or whatever.
I mean, garlic can do
Right?
wonders for you. There's
Turmeric is great.
turmeric, ginger.
Mhm.
Yes, all these things that it's made a big difference in my
Yeah.
life.
I make a big batch of a tea by myself every week with turmeric, ginger, lemon, and honey. And I make
all those things.
Yep, and I put it in the refrigerator. I've been doing it for like 3 years now. Yeah, and I heat it up or drink it cold.
And I tell you, if you're gonna get honey, get local honey.
That's
'Cause
right.
That has
Helps
better
with your
benefits
allergies.
for you.
Helps with your allergies, local honey. Yeah.
That it does. You know,
Yeah.
this has been a very eye-opening and very interesting conversation we've had.
Yeah.
So is there any possible way I can talk you into coming back on and we have another conversation?
Sure. I'd love to. Yeah.
All right. Well, and we should meet up at a coffee house or
Yes,
something.
for neighbors. That's right. Or maybe when I tell you about the people and events that are happening in Austin, that will, we could do an event together or something like that. You never know.
That would be very awesome. And if you know of anybody else that'd like to talk on the subject or anything similar to it, send them our way. I'd love to have them on the show.
Actually, I'll talk to the man that I know. His name is Danny. I'll talk to him about this because he's a really interesting guy. He's in his 30s. He has studied under shamans in Central and South America, and he does energy healing, and he's quite talented and very, very authentic. I've gotten to know him on just a one-to-one basis, and I really felt very good with him, and I really like how he talks and how he talks about other people that maybe he doesn't agree with and stuff like that. Real respectful. But when I asked him about certain people, he was like, well, I would never say anything, but you're asking me. So, and then he talked, and the way he said it, I really liked. He was really mindful in how he talked about it and stuff like that. And that's how I try to do too. So yeah, I'll talk to him and anybody else. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, this show is about alternative ways of thinking, alternative ways of healing yourself. I mean, being fairly conservative myself, I'm still open to all these, there's different ways that you can handle situations. And I still say we should all come together, work together,
Yeah.
be neighbors again.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
I was going to say that you look at social media, and social media, it's nasty. But I've always said that social media, it doesn't represent society as a whole, because if you're like me, I go to the local store, I walk in and people are nice to each other. Everybody says, hi, how are you doing? You see smiles on people's face, which makes me believe that there is just that small majority that's, I guess they're so miserable.
I always say they get real big balls when they're behind the screen, right?
Yeah. Well, they're so miserable in their own lives. They try to make everybody else miserable.
That's right. When someone acts like that, you know that they're suffering.
Yeah.
They're suffering. They're miserable. They're suffering. No one, a person that's happier and loves themselves doesn't act like that. Okay. But if you like, in our next conversation, I'd love to share information about how your thoughts can make you sick and cause pain, and how you can act, and talk about different techniques where actually you can get control of your thoughts and learn how to regulate your emotions and change your subconscious beliefs. There's all kinds of different methods and techniques that you can start doing, and it's amazing. It transforms your life, basically.
Well, even though there are some nasty stuff on social media, it's also a good tool too. We can spread the word of things like this. Is there social media that people may be able to follow you on?
Yeah, I have a Facebook page called Mindful Metamorphosis, just like a butterfly, metamorphosis. And you can join that, and people post to me, just do a lot of inspirational, informative, all kinds of big mix of science and healing and spiritual stuff. And everybody's, open to, welcome to post good stuff. And then I have my YouTube channel, which is a link to if you type in Michele Schalin or mshalin.com for my website, I have a YouTube channel where I share little tips and things like that all the time. And I talk about other people, and I'm always trying to share resources with any other people that I've learned from too. So Yeah, I have an Instagram account too, but mostly the Facebook page and the YouTube channel shares a lot of good information.
No, I love to support local business. And so you do have a local business. Can you plug that real quick?
Okay. And my other business is 17 years old. That's Website Design Austin, Texas. It's been very prominent in the area for many years. And we do website design and development for WordPress sites. And we're SEO experts where we can move you up in the ranking and do SEO campaigns and PPC campaigns.
Now, I may be speaking to you soon about helping me with the website. So
yeah, we have good reviews. We have a lot of people that have been with us for a long, long time. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate all the wisdom that you've brought to us. You've brightened my day, I'm going to say.
You too. Thanks a lot.
And let me give a real quick plug to alignable.com, which is where we met. It brings a lot of people together. There's some really good networking on there. It's serious. It's not, some goofy website that just, like a dating website or, so this is, if you want to promote yourself, promote other people. Oh my God, I got so many contacts in just the first 2 days.
Me too. How long have you been doing Alignable?
I think this is my third day on the
That's
site.
all? Mm-hmm. Oh my God. I've only been doing it. I mean, I'm new to it too, because in Europe, it didn't exist. I just got back here and I'm like, oh, this is really popular here. I've only been on it pretty regularly for about 4 months now.
Oh, wow.
So many people.
Well, when I first signed up, it put me in a group for locals here in the Kyle area. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then I saw these different businesses and different people here. I'm like, wow, this person's interesting. This person's so I just started sending out messages.
Yeah, that's how you got me. And then you can get involved also in the online Zoom events. It's a great way to jump in. I actually, in my group, all things brand marketing, I do a weekly online Zoom event where people get to network and talk with each other. Yeah.
Wow. I recommend it. I've actually gotten 6 recommendations on there already.
Well, now you're going to get a 7.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, alignable.com. Check it out. They're not paying me for this. I really enjoyed the site and I want to plug them and thank them. It's kind of like a better version of LinkedIn for me, I guess.
I think LinkedIn is more about like finding jobs a lot. You know what I mean? And this is really full-blown marketing. Networking. Yep. It's really good.
Networking at its finest, I must say. So thank you for that. And I want to thank everybody that has joined us today on the channel. If this is your first time, I hope you come back. Please hit that like button, subscribe to us, share it out to everyone. For those of you that are coming back to the channel, thank you for your support. You don't know how much that means to me. And I'm not just saying the words. I truly appreciate it.
Good thing to support. All right. Thank you, Kyle. And thanks for everybody listening. Have a great weekend.
And until the next one, everyone take care. God bless and peace.
All right.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network